Nachtgeiger. Long ago, in a small Franconian village in Bavaria, there lived a daring boy. He was neither bigger nor stronger than the other children his age, but there was one thing he wanted to prove to himself: that he was brave. For years, the parents in the village had repeated the same warning: make sure you come home in time, or the Nachtgeiger will get you. No one knew exactly who or what the Nachtgeiger was, yet his name alone was enough to make the children shudder. People said that the Nachtgeiger roamed the night and carried away any children who were still outside after dark. But the boy did not believe such stories. He was convinced that the adults had invented the Nachtgeiger merely to frighten the children. So he decided that one night he would walk alone through the silent streets of the village. When the full moon shone brightly above the rooftops and his parents had long since fallen asleep, the boy carefully opened the window of his small room. Beside the house stood an old tree whose sturdy branches reached all the way to his window. Cautiously, he climbed down and finally placed his bare feet on the ground. Without looking back, he quietly slipped away from the house. The boy bravely walked through the dark streets of his village. Most of the houses were already dark, though here and there a candle still flickered behind a window. During the day, he had known the village well, but now, in the darkness, everything seemed strange and eerie. For the first time, he wondered whether the stories of the Nachtgeiger were perhaps more than mere ghost tales. A cold shiver ran down his spine, and his heart began to beat faster. Yet he did not want to abandon his test of courage. Gathering all his bravery, he decided to walk to the other end of the village and then return. And so, he continued his nightly stroll. Suddenly, however, the boy stopped dead in his tracks. All at once he felt unmistakably that he was no longer alone. It was as if someone, or something, was watching him from very close behind. Slowly the boy turned around, and what he saw behind him filled him with utter terror. Just a few steps away stood a figure of such dreadful appearance that his blood ran cold. It was completely black, as if it were made of living shadow, and from its back spread enormous wings that nearly filled the entire alley. Where a face should have been, there was nothing but darkness, and yet the boy could feel its gaze fixed upon him. At that moment, he knew instantly who stood before him. This was the Nachtgeiger, the terrible being his parents and all the adults in the village had warned him about. Fear seized the boy so violently that at first he could not move a single muscle. But then his paralysis broke, and he tried to run away. Yet before he could take even a single step, the Nachtgeiger shot forward soundlessly and suddenly stood directly in front of him. In the next moment, the Nachtgeiger stretched his long, shadowy arms toward the boy. Dark wisps separated from his black body and wrapped themselves around the boy like grasping tentacles. The boy wanted to retreat, wanted to scream and call for help, but fear had drained him of all strength. Slowly but irresistibly, the dreadful being pulled him closer and closer. The boy's eyes were wide with mortal terror as the shadows tightened around him. First, one of his hands disappeared into them, then his entire arm, and finally his whole body. Before anyone could have imagined it, he had vanished completely inside the shadow creature forever, as if a gateway to another, darker world had opened before him. No sooner had the boy disappeared than the immense shadowy figure began to dissolve until nothing of it remained. The Nachtgeiger had returned to the dark world from which he had come. Over the years, fear of the Nachtgeiger spread throughout all of Franconia. Again and again, children disappeared without a trace after secretly sneaking out of their homes at night. None of them was ever seen again. Only their families remained behind, waiting in sorrow for a return that would never come. From village to village, people told the same stories. They spoke of a black figure with enormous wings that came from a strange and sinister world. In time, people noticed that the Nachtgeiger always appeared at the same hour. As soon as night began at exactly 10 o'clock, no one should remain outside. For that was when the shadow creature wandered through the dark alleys of the villages, searching for careless children. For this reason, parents warned their children even more urgently than before: never leave the house alone at night. For out there, hidden within the darkness, lurks a danger that does not belong to this world. A danger from a realm no human would ever wish to enter, and from which no one has ever returned.